Woo! What's up, guys? You are listening to HVAC Masters of the Hustle podcast. And this is your host, J Dub Moneymaker. And welcome to episode 97, the big 97. First off, I want to say thank you for everyone that reaches out every week and tells me how this podcast is bringing you and your company to the next level. I love hearing the feedback every single week from all my listeners. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And for all my new listeners out there, make sure you guys smash the subscribe button and make sure you guys tell someone in the industry about this podcast. Because like I said, this is helping thousands and thousands and thousands of people get to the next level. And also, I wanted to let you guys know, if you haven't checked out the new website, make sure you guys go to www.hvacmastersofthehustle.com and make sure you guys check it out, go through it. If you guys had questions on any of my training that I do when I'm on site, online, you could get all that information on there. And man, I have a great episode for you guys. And I believe everyone has a Spartan in them. It's my job, my duty, and my obligation to bring that out in you. And let's welcome our guest in the hot seat, Marvin Hendrickson Jr. How you doing, brother? Oh, I
Can you
had
hear
you
me?
muted. Hi, yep. How you doing, brother? I had you muted.
Hey, man, I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Oh, dude, I cannot complain, man. It's awesome to see you. I haven't seen you, since the airport. It was funny. I was leaving to a training, and then all of a sudden, Marvin's getting off the airplane, coming back from Hawaii.
Yeah, love it there.
Love it there, right?
Yeah, ready to go back.
Ready to go back. Well, Marv, tell my
Yeah.
listeners a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the HVAC industry?
Wow. So I spent 7 years in the Army straight out of high school.
Oh, thank you
Got
for
out
your
of the Army.
service.
Yeah. So got out, like, didn't know what I was going to do. My dad started his own company from being uh, he was a machinist. Just quit the machinist job and started his own HVAC company. And I'm like, man, how in the heck do you do that? So everything that I've learned, I got out and I started working with him a little bit in the summer, and then I'd get a job on the side, and then I'd work during the winter. Uh, and then finally he was like, hey, man, I'm going to need some help full time. So kind of got into that. He retired. I took over the business for probably 10, 12 years. Uh, started a family again, and I wanted to spend some more time at home with my family. So I reached out to Bell Brothers, and this has been my first company I've ever worked for.
First company you've ever worked for, man. And let me tell you, you
That's right.
picked the right company in this area, man. You cannot work for a better company
Woo,
than Bell Brothers.
I tell you, I worked there for probably 2.5 years. I moved to Idaho, worked for a company there, Ashley Heating and Air. Super awesome, family feel, really good company. But this is my home. This is my real family. So I went to a couple other ones on my journey back, and then I've been back at Bell for almost 3 years now.
Okay.
Or
So
actually almost four.
almost 4 years now. Man, time flies,
Yeah,
right? Especially there. They make that atmosphere and
man.
culture so
It,
good.
yeah, it's hard to believe it's been 4 years, but man, I tell you, it when you have that family, it feels like, it feels like it was yesterday that I came back. So it's good here.
Nice. And talking about when you first started into the trade, working for your father's company and everything like that, what was some of the big learning tools that you took on where you kind of like, when you took control of it? I mean, there's a business side and then the mechanical side, right? What was the hardest for you?
Right. I would say the hardest part of it was the communication part. Not so much. I didn't work for like homeowners. I work for a property management company.
Okay.
So they're like a middleman between, me as a technician and then the owner. So everything had to go through like an approval process, and uh I didn't know. I had no idea. We just fix things. So
Yeah.
I my biggest thing was learning how to diagnose problems, and so I never knew what a turnover or any of that stuff was for the first 17 years of my career. I mean, I've been doing HVAC for 25 years now, and 17 of it I had no clue, like turnovers, like the importance of system replacement, efficiency, stuff like that. So I came to Bell Brothers, and that's where, I mean, I grown leaps and bounds since I've been here.
Oh, absolutely. And for all my listeners out there, you guys listen to, I'm sure, Stephen Barbossa's episodes, but Marvin is also another heavy hitter, and they're always battling back and forth. And he's also was a turnover tech when I was there, a senior technician out in the field, and he just got promoted to a supervisor. And you have how many technicians under you?
Actually, I was a supervisor for 3 years, and then I just became service manager.
Serviceman, there we go. So
Yeah, with
how do
Mark
you feel?
Normington.
Yeah, how do you feel?
Man, it feels good, man. I love helping guys out. Funny you mentioned Steve, because that dude right there is a beast. Um, it- and I'll tell you, man, we wake up in the morning, and he's sitting there reading books, and I'm listening to him, and then all we do is sit there and pump each other up. I mean, we're calling each other at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, like, "Hey, let's go!" And
Yeah.
it was off and running.
Woo!
Yeah, heck yeah. So man, it was exciting times. And I tell you what, man, I gave everything I had to keep up with that dude, but he's just he's on a whole nother level.
Absolutely.
Man, yeah.
So
So yeah, that was
talking about real quick, you introducing yourself into Bell Brothers now, going from the position that you were at your father's company, and then switching over. Now you're learning about turnovers and indoor air quality and average tickets and everything like that. How did you learn all these to become one of Bell Brothers, best turnover techs they've had?
man, I tell you, they've got an incredible team. There's nobody there is selfish. They're there to help you learn. There's opportunities to be able to take our training courses, learn how to communicate with clients, which is your number one thing as far as getting into a house. Uh, I think the biggest thing that I try to train my technicians on is mindset. If you don't have the right mindset going into a call, that call 99% of the time is not going to go the way that you want it to.
Oh, absolutely.
Uh, so for me, man, it's all mindset. I've changed my mindset this last year from previous years that I've been here. And I mean, I've doubled my turnovers this last year. And that was before before November, when I took the promotion to management. And I tell you what, I had so much fun this last summer. It was incredible.
That's awesome. So what was your goals for 2020 and where'd you end up?
So my goal for 2020 was 1 million in turnovers. So, and I thought I was going to, before the end of December, I was like, okay, I just need to hit 1 million before then. Um, and then I didn't even come up with this until May. So that's when Steve came back, and I was like, I had no idea. I know I hear about goals, and I'm like, how do you set goals, and what should they be? Well, you know
Mhm.
what? A goal is a number that you want to hit. And actually, when I set a goal, I try to set it higher than what I want it. And then that way, at least if I get, close, but I did hit my goal this last year, and it was just, it was fun, man. I had a blast doing it.
How'd it feel?
Dude, there, I don't feel like there's another feeling out there that's like it, man. It just gives you goosebumps. And you come up on it and you're like, man, I can do that. And so it's monthly, man. It's like you set yourself up for goals every month, and then you break those down by what you need per week, and then you break them down by what you need per day. I was working with Steve, and he had a goal, I believe, of like 350 or 400,000, and I think it was like in August. And it was like halfway through the month, and I think he was like 3. And I told him, I said, dude, let's set that for 500. And I was like, look, I broke it all down, how many days he had left, and this is what you need to do per day. And man, that dude went out there and crushed it. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about.
It's funny that you say this story, because when he was on the episode 2 episodes ago, right, 95, he said, my mentor told me to change this, and he didn't tell us who his mentor was, but Marvin just dropped it right there. So make sure, I mean, my listeners listening to this, make sure you guys take notes, because Marvin is a beast.
Dude, I'm telling you, I don't know about me being his mentor. All I know is that if you find a technician out there and you guys have you guys got a really good relationship, and it's a healthy, competition between the two of you. And, we were rolling out on Saturdays, Sundays, and taking the calls other guys don't want to run.
Absolutely. And then talk about
it was just
too.
Incredible.
And then talk about
friendship. I tell you what, there's nothing like having somebody out there. Oh yeah. So, Steve just got hired as a supervisor with Bell Brothers. So
yep.
I'm excited about that guy and what he's going to do with these technicians also. We throw stuff back and forth, and what works and what won't work, and how to communicate, and what we can do to motivate these guys. And I tell my guys, I was like, look, man, it's number one is mindset, and find yourself somebody that you talk to that well, and have set yourselves up with monthly and daily competitions on what you guys are going to do. And I'm telling you, it makes it fun. This business doesn't have to be hard. It could be easy, and it can be enjoyable, and you can make money too doing it.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. and talking about making money, man, I mean, who knew that when I started off in this industry that I was making $13 an hour? Now 2021, working for myself, being booked out over a year, owning my own company, being a national sales trainer, helping people grow to the next level, understanding my purpose, right?
Man, you found your purpose, because I knew when I met you, I was like, man, that dude's gonna be doing big things. So it was incredible. Speaking of Steve.
Oh yeah. He's trying to get on the podcast again. That's what he's trying to do.
Don't be in here trying to. Nah, man. So it's good though, man. I enjoy this business, man. It's incredible. I don't want to stop. 25 years. My body, it aches, but I tell you what, man, they just keep going after it. And now I'm trying to get my guys to go after it, and they're out there tearing it up this year just with IAQ alone. We set goals for them.
We're talking about IAQ. Talk about what your guys are pushing right now and what's working for your market.
So the biggest thing is really the pandemic that came around, and then the fires in California. Those have been like the big ones. You know,
Yeah, you have two of those
we're
things just on top of each other. I mean, absolutely.
right. And so we have two items. One's the iWave, and the other one is the air scrubber. And you know, these the technicians, man, we set it up to where like, hey, you know what? Bring it in the house with you when you come up to the door. And then that gives the client a chance to look at it. And then it's the biggest thing is all the information is on the box. So, you know, you read it, you let them look at it, let them read it. And then, you know, when you're coming down, talking to the client, you know, in the middle of your call, asking them about, you know, how, you know, if you had a chance to look at that, and then, you know, let them know how their system's going and how you're, you know, how they're doing on their maintenance. Uh,
Absolutely.
and then at the end, man, they just bring it back up again, and they've had it put in their head a couple of times, and they know the importance of it. Uh, a big thing is I believe in it because I have one in my house, so I know how well it works. I don't have to
Absolutely.
chase my I don't have to chase my son around with a tissue in the fall and the spring and blowing his nose. It, you know, so it, to me, it's all about personal stories and, you know, how well that product works.
Absolutely. And talking to my listeners right now about how to communicate about indoor air quality, right? So, something that I like to do as a technician is when I'm out and I'm in the field with my guys, I like to go to the return intake, right? And I talk about this on the podcast. I take a wet wipe and I swab the return, right? And I put it in a sandwich bag and I write their name and their address on it and I put it in the kitchen, right? Or bring the homeowner to the return and ask them, you know, I was just in a training last week and I mean, it was crazy because the technician brought me out and was like, it was an indoor air quality marketing call. Technician brought me out and said, you know, the technician said this was a complimentary estimate. So, you know, these are usually how these estimates go. I usually don't get anything out of it. Well, long story short, I ended up opening the return, doing my process, bringing the homeowner to the return, right? And showing the homeowner. I mean, it was disgusting. It looks like they haven't changed their filter or had a filter in for years, right? So I said, man, so let
Right.
me do some educational real quick. So with all that dust and dirt and everything like that, what do you think that could do to your system? And let him answer, right? Oh, well, not
Right.
really good.
Yeah.
Well, what else, right? Well, I
Mm-hmm.
probably damage it. Well, what else, right? Just continue, right? Until they stop. And then you simply, right after they say all this stuff, what would you like to do about that? Well, I want to get it
Right.
removed. Well, boom, you just set yourself up for success, right? It's that easy too. And we ended up selling indoor air quality for $4,000 or $3,000. And again,
Woo,
it was just bringing that homeowner, asking that question, educating them, asking him, right? Not me telling him, but me saying, hey, what do you think all this dirt and dust can do to your system? Well, it's not
right.
good. Well, what else? Well, damage it. What else? Potentially fail. Okay, what else? Well, I don't know. I think that's about it. Well, what would you like to do about it? I want to go ahead and
Right.
take it out. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and give you options on that. Now you know you secured some type of indoor air quality, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so our technicians, they go about it a little differently. We go to a call and we do a tune-up or a maintenance. We got some dust on the blower wheel, and we we pull every blower that's dirty
Mhm.
like that. And every tune-up that we run, we pull and clean the blower. And that's all wrapped into the price of
That's
the
quality
tune-up.
service right there. And I want my business owners to understand if you guys are trying to pride yourself as a quality premier company, okay? What are your technicians doing when they do a tune-up? Because if they're not pulling the squirrel cage and the blower wheels and dismantling them and cleaning them, is that truly a premier tune-up? Absolutely not. You're not doing your client anything.
Nope. You're absolutely right. And that's why I I proud of this company for doing that. And I thought it was crazy at first to not charge to pull and clean a blower. But at the same time, now that I look back, I'm like, you know what? That's probably one of the biggest benefits to being a premier company is to taking care of the client,
Absolutely.
cleaning out the whole inside of the blower, and then bringing that down and showing them what's getting past their filter and building up inside their system. And I explain to clients the number one killer of electronics is dirt and dust.
Absolutely. Dirt and dust, right? And what
Yep.
that can do to a system. So let me ask you a question. With you being, one of the best turnover techs that Bell Brothers have had, how do you build that relationship with that homeowner? What was your process, Marvin?
My process, my process is to get on a level with a client. And when you go to a client's door and their heating and air conditioning is broken down, or you're there for a tune-up, uh, they always have their guard up.
Yeah.
So I try to get on a level to where I bring that guard down, and it's all in my door approach. Explain to them exactly what I'm going to be doing. And then, we call it asking the $1,000,000 question. If I find something wrong with your system, would you like me to bring that to your attention? And nobody's ever told me no.
Have you ever been nervous to ask that question?
At first I did, but now it's like a regular conversation for me and for my technicians. We role play that all the time. And like I said, part of our door approach. So we we train that in the class. So when you start here, you have no knowledge of heating and air conditioning. Your first week here in training is about the door approach.
Mm-hmm. And really
And
fine tuning that, right? Because that's huge. The whole door approach. We got 5 seconds that before we get prejudged, right? So we have to make that first impression.
absolutely. And first impression is everything. You don't want to go into a client's house and them not like you. So
You're right.
it's huge.
Absolutely.
It's, it's huge to be, on a level with them, and then to be able to talk about things in terms so that they understand what you're talking about. And, in the business is when you're doing turnovers is to have their systems at that point where it needs to be replaced. And, you talk about, price conditioning them. And then, if they're in a certain place having you got to have some empathy also. Uh,
Absolutely.
and, and that's just, that, and then your mindset, it's just been a game changer this year.
That's nice. And when you present, how do you get the homeowner to say, well, Marvin, how much is a new one? Because that's really what we're looking for to set up our comfort advisor up for success. And when you're running Marvin's calls and the comfort advisor success is 80% to 70%, there has to be a secret sauce to how you set that up, man.
Oh man. So, I just go over with them repair versus replace and let them know how old their system is. And, I there's a lot of times where I've sold a part uh, to get the client up and running, but letting them know like this is just a temporary fix on a system that's, a certain age. So there's other parts and components to this system that, are going to need attention also. It's just, I don't know how much money you want to put into that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I used to like push the turnover. And now it's like, I just go through my process, talking to them about, the price of the repairs versus price of replacement. And, once you can ballpark them, uh, cause they ask you, well, how much is a new system when you're going for repair prices and how old the system is, uh, that's the you got them hooked right
That's
there.
boom. That's what you want right
Yeah,
there.
that's what that man. That's like the one thing that I'm looking for. And I had Steve came up on a call, brought me a disconnect one time. Funny story, because I was out there and I was talking to the guy and I was like, oh man, because the compressor was overamping, and he was like, well, how much is that? And so I gave him a price on compressor replacement, and Steve's standing right there and he's like, oh man, that's a lot of money. He's like, how much is a new one? And I just seen Steve smile, like he knew, like, okay, that's it. And
And
I
that's the
think
thing.
it
It's that easy when you ask the right questions and you build value. At the end of the day, as a technician, that's where you want the call to go, right? Obviously, everything has to line up, right? System has to be, out of whack, out of spec, not up to, code per se. So we have to make sure everything lines up. We educate the homeowner. We want to make sure that we give them visuals. So I'm not sure if you do this, Marvin, but have you ever heard of the paper towel close?
never heard of the paper clothes.
So the paper towel close is something that I like to teach technicians as well. I didn't come up with it or anything like that, but it's something that works very well that I've done in the field, and I've seen technicians do it in the field, and it works very well. But when you say mandatory repair for today, right? So compressors overamping, and you communicate to the homeowner the importance of the compressor and what it means by overamping, really, and having them buy into it, right? And then you talk about
Right.
future repairs, right? So motors leaking oil, this and that, right? Things that are gonna,
Absolutely.
and you're building your ticket, and then nice to have, right? And then you have a
Right.
nice to have item. So I like to break it down in 3 columns like that. So mandatory, future repair, and then nice to have. And then every time you present as a technician, you go through your 3 list or your 3 findings, and then you say, so your compressor's $33,000, right? Well, how much is a
Right.
new one? Well, let me go ahead and order the compressor real quick, but I'll set up for a comfort advisor to come up here, because as a technician, you still want skin in the game, right? So let's go ahead and get
Absolutely.
the compressor ordered. Potentially, you might not move forward with the new system. But again, I'm Mr. Fix It. That's what I went to school for. So let's go ahead and schedule my comfort advisor to come out today to meet with you and your husband. He'll educate you on replacements. And if you end up moving forward with the replacement, we'll just keep this down payment of $1,000, which you were going to do on the repair, because it's going to take a
Right.
couple weeks potentially, or a week to get that compressor, right? So let's get the ball going. So at least now you have
Right.
skin in the game, right? So you at least got the repair
Right.
out of it, so the company's not losing money on it. But then you also
Absolutely.
get the comfort advisor to go out there, and then you got skin in the game because you have a check for the repair, and now that's the deposit. So everything gets transferred. That's why I like talking about passing the baton.
Right. Yeah. And I love doing that. And there's many a times over the summer where I ordered parts and saying, okay, it's gonna take, 5 to 7 days for that part to get here. And about Sacramento, it doesn't stay cool here.
No. When
It's
it's
sweating.
summertime, it's 105, 110. It gets hot.
Right. And the clients don't want to sit in a house for 5 days with no air conditioning. And
No.
so it's easy. And the other biggest thing is getting somebody out there, the same day. That's really important.
Oh,
Another thing that
absolutely.
we've trained on a lot here is home performance. So making sure that your whole house is efficient. Uh,
Hmm.
and that's another thing that's like boosted my average tickets on my turnovers, was talking about ductwork, insulation, windows. So you bring everything up to a client, and because at the end of the day, I was like, do you know what the most efficient heating and air system is? And they're like, what's that? I'm like, one that doesn't run. And they're like, oh, okay.
Marvin got jokes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's like, and it's reality too. If you can
Yeah,
keep that thing
absolutely.
from running, it's your heating and air system's going to last longer, and you're not going to have such a high energy bill.
Absolutely. So, Marvin, let me ask you, what is your goal with your new position as a manager for 2021 with your guys? What's your real focus point this year?
Man, so my focus point is I'm trying to, well, I not trying, I'm setting them their own personal goals. So just like, I was doing for myself, and, I was, you know, trying to motivating Steve to get him to where he was at. Uh, Doing the same thing with my technicians is, putting it on paper, having them write it down. Uh, my first meeting was all about setting goals, uh, and what our company minimum goal was. So I've got a technician right now. He's said, I changed my mindset last week. He said, I put in my goal was putting in one IAQ a day. So last week he accomplished that goal, and he said, that's
Nice.
what I want to do. And so I went and did a ride along with him, because my job as the position that I've taken is it's a service manager for the field. So I'm in the field with the technician. So I drop in on them. I do ride alongs with them, uh, and, help them, with communication if I see them having an issue. But, this guy that I rode with today, he had an I-wave on his first call. I didn't, I wasn't on that call with him. The second call, listening to him talk, bringing that blower down. I'm telling you, that blower is golden. That it might be brown, but when you wash that thing off and you see the mud coming off of it, the client's like, "Oh, that's gross." And we do that, and that's part of our
Talk about the
maintenance.
importance real quick of bringing the homeowner out there and showing them what you're doing, because if you don't show them, there's no value there.
Absolutely. I mean, a picture speaks 1,000 words. So if you, instead of letting the client know, say, "Hey, look, I just cleaned this," bring them out there, show them what you're doing. You're putting cleaner on there, you're spraying it down. They can see the mud come out of there. And I'm like, if
Mhm,
that thing is that dirty, what would the rest of your system look like? Your
mhm.
ducts and, your registers. That's why you have dust on your registers. And so they're like, yeah, that's bad. And the technician rolled straight into the IAQ, brought the boxes up, both of them. And the guy's like, well, I want the best one, whatever's going to help my system the best. So, it went just like that,
Work.
and it works. Absolutely. Absolutely. And these guys are out there tearing it up right now. I think we're
That's
at,
awesome.
yeah, I have 15 guys, and I think we're probably close to 30 IAQ just in my group.
Nice. There you go. Well, Marvin, let me
Yeah.
ask you, I got listeners from technicians, business owners, comfort advisors, installers, dispatchers. What would you like for them to get out of this episode of HVAC Masters of the Hustle?
Man, I think the biggest thing is having a positive mindset, a positive attitude. Um, Without that, you're not going to go anywhere. And if you got a good attitude, I mean, one of the biggest reasons why I have the attitude that I do is because the people that I surround myself with. Uh, Man, you worked here, so you
Oh, yeah.
were a big inspiration on that.
Thank
Steve
you.
Barbosa, Mark Normington, uh, Louis Rivera. I mean, we've got guys that are they're amazing people. They're super humble, and they're just out there trying to feed their families also, but we're having fun doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to have to do this because I love Bell Brothers. So if anyone is looking for an opportunity, they're always hiring. Reach out to them, technicians, installers. I'm telling you guys, Bell Brothers, they have a culture, they have a family there, and they put you first. And like I said, you guys, hands down, by far one of the best companies I have the opportunity and privilege to work with. So thank you, Marvin, for being a guest in the hot seat, brother. It was an absolute honor.
It was amazing seeing you, man, especially at the airport. And now on this, let's go.
Let's go, baby.
Go.